Well, hey there. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's do some DOGE updates. I'm really loving this story because there's so much that I thought was just sort of a bipartisan, accepted by everyone in society that we could all agree on. And one of them is let's go line by line through the budget, find silly spending programs that do not benefit the American taxpayer and cut them. I thought that was universally agreed on, not just because, I heard good old Elon Musk support this, not because I heard Donald Trump support this, but because I've heard this from both sides my entire life. So just to give you a review, here's a bunch of people on Team Blue supporting
this report tells us how to cut waste, cut red tape, streamline the bureaucracy, change procurement rules, change the personnel rules, and create a government that works better and costs less.
I've read it, and where it says the president should, the president will.
Among the 800 recommendations, eliminating 12% of the federal workforce, merging some government agencies like the FBI, the DEA, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, closing hundreds of government offices outside Washington.
From the day I took office, one of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We thought that it was entirely appropriate for our governments and our agencies to try to root out waste, large and small, in a systematic way. It means cutting some programs that I think are worthy, but we may not be able to afford right now. A lot of the action is in Congress and legislative, but in the meantime, we don't need to wait for Congress in order to do something about wasteful spending that's out there. We haven't seen as much action out of Congress as we'd like, and that's why we launched on our own initiative the campaign Cut Waste. And we're going to keep on finding every possible way that we can do that, even if Congress is not acting. There you go.
So how did we go from that to government cuts are killing people? CBS News.
President Trump's move to freeze foreign aid spending is already creating chaos in countries around the world. Janice Mankey-Freyer traveled to Cambodia to see the impact on work and America's reputation firsthand.
Our reputation.
The delicate and dangerous task of clearing unexploded bombs in Cambodia. Deminers using simple tools and every day finding something.
So you just blow it up where it is?
Just blow it up right where it is.
We have to move back here so we can get out of the way.
2, 3.
See,
many of the munitions here.
With these government cuts, people are going to die. People are going to walk through minefields and die. People, look. You didn't hear any of those stories when Bill Clinton and Al Gore went through and cut 380,000 federal workers. There was no concern about these are people with families. These are people with children. These are people with mortgages. They're not going to know what to do. And you're just going to displace all these people. And yeah. Whatever happened when Bill Clinton cut 380,000, that's what they're going to do. When you didn't care when he did it, that's what they're going to do here. Don't worry about them. Worry about the taxpayer for 5 seconds like you used to. But I think they're just caught in some sort of weird tornado of whatever Trump says, whatever Elon says, we're just going to report on it as bad. Because that's their mode. 94% of the news coverage during the election cycle was negative to Trump. So, that's just their standing mode. You don't even have to tell them to do it anymore. That's just what they do with the news. Like, hey, what happened today? Well, what did Trump say that makes him look the worst? We're going to make that our headline. Well, I don't think this is going to work. I think most people understand that, hey, maybe we don't need to be spending $45 million for coloring books in Albania or whatever they're doing. Maybe there is some stuff that we used to like cuts. We used to like the idea of, saving the taxpayer some money and reducing the deficit and reducing inflation. We talked positive about that for all of our entire lives until a month ago. It's very suspicious. And then you have the weird thing that's happening in Texas right now where we now have our own DOGE. Did you hear about the DOGE at the Texas level? Don't worry, it's an absolute farce. I have a guest coming up at like 4:30, Brian Harrison. I assume you're not going to be around then, so I just pulled a clip from him. Here he was on another show talking about the Texas DOGE.
You know who killed all those bills? Dustin Burrows, our current speaker. He stopped them. And now, in order to compensate for the fact that he is the one that protected the regulatory state, He's the one that protected COVID vaccine mandates in Texas. He has now formed a committee, and he's calling it the DOGE Committee. And they're tweeting at Elon Musk like this morning, hey, look at us, we're doing DOGE too. The same people that did everything they could to protect the bureaucratic state, to protect.
So we're going to get a full rundown at 4:30, but so far today, that's your DOGE update. There's two things you can do to follow DOGE more closely if you're already on Twitter or X. Go follow at DOGE, DOGE, or you can go to doge.gov. And they just have a repeat of the Twitter feed going up there. And they're giving you all the cuts they found, all the weird things they found, the oddities, the people who are 150 years old. You can go find. It's transparency like we haven't seen before. So go check that out. Man, I wish I had more time. Still coming up on the James Show. We're going to talk a little bit more about the weather, and I'll let you know when it's going to get cold. Jim Dutton from Texas Home Improvement is going to tell you what you can do to get your house prepared. And also the Outlaw Music Festival 2025 coming to Dos Equis Pavilion on July 5th. This is the one with Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan. That's pretty awesome. You can get tickets now at livenation.com, or it's one of the contests we have going on WBAP where you text the word outlaw. So it's the same number as our call-in number, 800-288-9227. Text the word outlaw to 800-288-9227. You'll be entered for a chance to win a pair of tickets to see Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan July 5th. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. You know, we just had a little bit of drizzle here in downtown, and from here on out, the temperatures are going to just keep getting colder. And we're expected, where I'm sitting, it's going to get down to about 16. But if you're north and northwest of Dallas, and maybe even far west of Dallas, you may be experiencing single-digit temperatures before this all warms back up. So be safe out there. Take care of your pets and your house and your car, and be safe on the roads and whatnot. And keep it here on WBAP, because we're going to have the constant weather updates. We are your News Talk weather traffic station. Thank you very much. It's our chance to brag. But if something that'll warm you up is what's going on with DOGE. You know, you've heard a lot about the cuts, and I think if you're an all-day listener, you heard a good rundown of cuts on the Dan Bongino show right before we started here. I'm also getting quite a bit of, I don't know, it's not funny when people lose their job, and it's not funny because I've been in this situation, and I feel sorry for these people. I just wonder about the highlighting of it on 60 Minutes. They have these two workers here that got laid off from the USAID shutdown. And listen to this sob story that they get here.
People are really scared. I think that, 12 days ago, people knew where their next paycheck was coming from. They knew how they were going to pay for their kids' daycare, their medical bills, and then all gone overnight.
All gone.
Can you... Here, repeat that for me.
Overnight for Christina Dry and Adam Dubard, fired this month in the chaotic shutdown of foreign aid.
Now, do you realize how dishonest that is? It's not all gone overnight. They have 8 months of severance. When you got laid off, did you get 8 months of a paycheck? I didn't. I've been laid off a few times. Never happened. So no, it wasn't all just ripped out from under them. They don't have to go home and look at their kids and say, I don't know how I'm going to feed you tomorrow. I don't know how I'm going to keep a roof over your head. I've had to do that. You've probably had to do that. Most of America had to do that. And 60 Minutes didn't run any of these stories when they were kicking us out of our jobs during COVID. When they were firing us for the vaccine mandates, for all the pilots that got fired at DFW and Love Field, did 60 Minutes come and talk to you? For all the teachers that got kicked out of their profession for not doing the vaccine, did 60 Minutes come get your sob story? For all the soldiers, the active duty military that were booted out of the military for not getting the vaccine. And where you at? Were you on that one, 60 Minutes? For all you other people that are telling sob stories, for the poor people who lost their job, and now they no longer get to have funding birthday parties in Bolivia or whatever they were doing. Pin the tail on the donkey or something. No sob stories there? Oh, that's so weird. Anyway, we continue.
Distributed by the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. More than 8,000 USAID employees were sent home.
Look, I like how he says that like it's a bad thing, but are you hearing what... 8,000, we can get that. Those are rookie numbers, man. We got to get those numbers up. That's all. Bill Clinton cut 380,000. Did you come in 60 Minutes and interview a couple of people whose lives were destroyed by Bill Clinton cutting 380,000 federal workers. No, that didn't happen. Here's another part of this narrative that you're going to like. Over on Zero Hedge, someone did a breakdown of the internet search trends in Washington, D.C. So some of the giant changes in internet searches you're going to love. Number one, the biggest change in search terms that happened in D.C. was for RICO law meaning. What? That's up 700%? RICO charge is up 300%. RICO statute is up 250%. What is RICO law? Is up 100%. You're seeing all kinds of weird. It's not even that weird. Almost expected if you thought, if your worldview that half of DC is a criminal enterprise. But here's some more suspicious search trends. Criminal defense lawyer is up. Swiss bank is up. Offshore bank is up. Wire money is up. IBAN is up. That's for International Banking Exchange. These people, are they trying to move a bunch of their stolen goods offshore? Because that's exactly what you would look up. Why else are you looking up Swiss bank, offshore bank, wire money, IBAN? Well, they've all spiked dramatically since Trump got in office. Go look at it's on zerohedge.com. You can go check it out yourself. They've got the charts and everything. WikiLeaks published their own rundown of some interesting trends that they saw. DC area searches for wipe and erase and BleachBit are up. Remember BleachBit? That's what Hillary Clinton used to clean off her server with all the illegal stuff on it. I mean, we don't know it's illegal because she BleachBitted it, but why else would you do it? You're not trying to hide marshmallow pie recipes or whatever. Washington, D.C. area searches for the word lawyer have gone up 400%, according to Google Trends, too. Isn't this what a big band of people who are ripping off everyone would be searching for? Statute of limitations is up in the last 90 days. It spiked as well. This is fantastic. Isn't this great? This is what you wanted. Part of me wonders, why didn't he do this the last time? Isn't this kind of what he promised? And are you enjoying the claim that this is some sort of wild constitutional crisis? Oh, my goodness, we're in a constitutional crisis. Can you believe this? Someone's trying to, rein in the government to its constitutionally mandated size? Constitutional crisis.
New warnings of a constitutional crisis just weeks into Trump's second term.
The stage is set for a constitutional crisis.
Could this signal the start of a constitutional crisis?
Legal experts say our country could be headed toward a constitutional crisis.
They're calling this a constitutional crisis.
This is a constitutional crisis?
I am unapologetic in suggesting we are in a constitutional crisis right now.
Are we already in a constitutional crisis?
Those two words, right? Constitutional crisis.
Constitutional crisis. All of D.C. has been a constitutional crisis your entire life. Every undeclared war is a constitutional crisis. Most of the agencies in D.C. are a constitutional crisis. They're in clear violation of the 10th Amendment. Department of Education. Where's that in the Constitution? Where is the federal government giving an authority over making education decisions? It's not. So the 10th Amendment says that's reserved for the states and the people respectively. So no constitutional crisis there. No one's never worried about that constitutional crisis. If you think trimming government down to the borders that it was given in the Constitution is a constitutional crisis, you have it exactly 180 degrees backwards. This is an attempt to return D.C. to its constitutionally mandated limits because we went past them a long time ago. Constitutional crisis. What part of the Constitution is being violated exactly? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit more weather action here. It's actually starting to get cold, so we'll check in with a meteorologist from the National Weather Service on the James Show. Also, Brian Kilmeade is coming back to town February 26th. That is going to be, is that next week? Yeah. So he'll be in town for another event where he's going to come in and they're going to do an hour or two live broadcast on KLIF because he's their mid-morning guy over there. And then he'll take questions from the crowd and you can meet him, hang out, have a beer. I'll be there. I think Garrett's going to be there. I'm trying to talk other WBAP people into going. Clayton Neville and Sybil Summers from KLIF are going to be there. Miss Parker's going to be there.
Hi, Miss Parker.
So come on out, communitybeer.com, February 26th. It starts at 6 o'clock and it's going to run technically for 2 hours, but we'll hang out for 3 or 4 hours. Come on out. Say hi. Meet us. Details at communitybeer.com or klif.com. More than 24 Dairy Queens are closing in the great state of Texas. And it's not just, all right, it's not just Texas ones that are closing. There's a wider shutdown of some restaurants. And when I look around here, there's one in North Richland Hills that's going away. There's one in Hillsboro that's going away. There's one in Farmers Branch on Valwood. You're losing that one. That's really the only three that I kind of consider tightly in the DFW area. Yeah, I consider Hillsboro DFW area. But if you go out to my neighbors in East Texas, man, it's a big loss out there. Because if you lose, like Nacogdoches is losing Dairy Queen, and they misspelled it on this website. Can't blame them. Nacogdoches is not easy to spell. But it's not like they have 28 Dairy Queens like we have here. They probably have just a few, maybe 3 or 4, and they're going to lose one of them. That's a big loss. If they lose it in Rusk, though, I think Rusk only has one, and they're losing it. Carthage, I think they're losing their only Dairy Queen. Wascom, I think they're losing their only Dairy Queen. Dude, that's a big hit for a small town. And I know you think, Dairy Queen is synonymous with Texas. Hang on. In some aspects, now I love Dairy Queen. I have my entire life. Big fan of the Blizzard. I love their food, especially the steak fingers. But it is not. Don't get excited. Don't. It is not a Texas company. Did you know that? Texas does have the most Dairy Queens. But let me spell out. I'm not saying this is a fraud, but it's weird how Dairy Queen has almost 2 personalities. Here in Texas, we have a different menu than all the other Dairy Queens. Yeah. The Hunger Buster, the Belt Buster, the Nolan Ryan beef. They don't do that in all the Dairy Queens. They do the Blizzard. They do the Dilly Bar. They do the Nutty Buddies or whatever they're called. But we have our own menu here. What's the one with the chicken fried steak sandwich? The Dude. Yeah, that's a Texas thing. So this company it started in Illinois. Their headquarters is in Minnesota, I believe it was. And yeah, they have a ton, but this whole thing where when we were kids, they got Bob Phillips from Texas Country Reporter to be their spokesman. This is DQ Country, and there's Texas flags everywhere, and there's flags on the cups. And in the old commercial, they had the monkey that was riding the dog. Do you remember the monkey that was doing the roundup on the dog? That was all for us. That was all just a show for us. They didn't even show that anywhere else. So maybe they're not from here, but they've taken such a weird interest in Texas. And I don't know if they took an interest in us or we just seized on it because, we really like to get wrapped up in ourselves. But I don't know, it kind of floored me when I found out that Dairy Queen wasn't a Texas company. And I thought it was more universal, too. They have like 6,000 stores across the planet. Most of them are here, of course. Their biggest store, where is it? Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The capital of Saudi Arabia. Well, that's cool. First, what a great place to put an ice cream shop in the middle of one of the hottest, most barren deserts the world has to offer. I mean, if there was a road leading to the middle of the Sahara, that might be a better place. But Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. You know what? I am so amazed to find out how much we have in common with some of our Arab friends. They love drilling for oil. And here in Texas, we love drilling for oil. High five. You guys, y'all are really serious about your religion, but, well, I guess we kind of are too around here in Texas. Another high five. Y'all like wearing flip-flops when it's hot? Oh, yeah? Y'all got sandals on all the time too? Well, another high five. We have so much in common with Arab. What about guns? Y'all love guns? Yeah, they love guns. Just go out in the street and just start shooting off rounds. I mean, we don't do that here in like Highland Park, but you go just driving 2 hours in any direction. It happens. So, yeah, we got a lot in common with our Arab neighbors. And to find out that they love Dairy Queen, it's like, damn, are y'all just half Texan now? I think I have more in common with, in many aspects, with people from Saudi Arabia than I do some guy from Berkeley. Some guy's like, oh, I don't like guns. Guns are scary. I drive a Prius. What do you drive? Well, me and my Arab friend, we drive these giant SUVs. He's in a Navigator. I'm in an Escalade. What you got? You don't like guns? You don't like big flashy cars? You don't like religion? Religion's dumb. I'm way above that. Yeah, I think in many aspects, the real Texans get along with that sort of contingency in the world, because it's not just like the Saudi Arabs. Like I had a guy I worked with that was a Palestinian Muslim. And I had more in common with him than many of my liberal friends. We were buddies. It was great. And another big closure that's happening. This is sad. Neiman Marcus. This is going to be a little bit more of a controversy, but I am not read up enough on this to have a strong opinion. But a couple years ago, they got some incentive money from the Dallas City Council, and they appropriated them millions of dollars in exchange for keeping your headquarters or keeping your offices in the City Place, that big building over there, and then keeping the big flagship downtown. And they're moving it. So do they have to give all that money back? And the weird part about it is when I look at what they spent a lot of that money on, it was like $200,000 was just on permits and licensing from the city. So the city gave Neiman Marcus money, and Neiman Marcus gave that money back to the city for permission to build and do things. Something's weird about that. But I don't know if they're going to have to give the money back. I don't know if there's some sort of out clause in the agreement. I don't know if their merger with Saks Fifth Avenue makes that all null and void, because now it's not their decision. We didn't close it down. Someone else did. I didn't know at the time that we were going to get bought out. That wasn't on the table. So that's a whole confusing situation. But I think if the contract language isn't very complimentary, that there might be a big legal issue on their hands. All right, if you got any comments, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Alabama Shakes coming to the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory September 22nd with the Greyhounds. You can win a pair of tickets from us. Text the word Shakes, like Alabama Shakes. Text the word Shakes to 800-288-9227 for your chance to win a pair of tickets. For the rest of us, go to livenation.com. Brad Barton, Chief Meteorologist, up next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. CJ wants to wish you happy Tuesday, safe travels home, weather coming. Yeah, we saw that. The cold weather's coming in. I'm in downtown Dallas right now. We're having the drizzles. And after that, the temperature's just going to start to slowly drop. And it's supposed to get down to where I'm sitting right now. We're expecting the low to be around 16. 16. That's awful. Meanwhile, there's been a bunch of cuts in D.C. And it's a good time to talk to Betsy Allen Manning. She can help you navigate the workplace. And let's just talk to the basics. Whether you were in the federal government or not, a lot of people can relate to being laid off. You know how many times I've been laid off? I think 4, I think it is, in my radio career. And then twice when I was a coder before that. So, yeah, I've been through this quite a bit, Betsy.
Yeah, it's happening. Not like you said, not just federal government. Man, they're hitting airlines, tech, manufacturing, and it's a problem right now. And employees left behind are starting to job hunt because they're wondering, am I the next that's going to be cut? And if you've been through this, right? It takes a toll on your mental health. It takes a toll on you emotionally and physically. So there's a lot you need to do to prepare if you've been laid off, if you think you could be laid off, but also for the leaders that are dealing with the layoffs and managing that culture right now.
Well, it's hardened me quite a bit, Betsy, because I see the stories like you realize every person that's laid off in D.C. is someone with a family and a future, and they don't know how they're going to put food on the table. It's like, yeah, I know exactly what that's like. It's okay. It happens to a lot of people. So, we don't have a lot of federal workers around here, especially compared to D.C., but I did see that more than 24 Dairy Queens are closing in Texas. And, it's not all teenagers pulling the ice cream. A lot of these are managers and general managers and suppliers. And, there's going to be a lot of people losing their job for that as well. What's the first thing you would recommend someone do if they get laid off?
Yeah, if this is you and losing your job, it's a shock, right? It's a shock. Even when you see it coming, it's still a shock. But here's the good news. It's not the end. It's a pivot point. Best thing you can do is take control of what comes next. So take a beat, but don't stall, right? Feel what you need to feel. Feel the anger, the frustration, the stress, but don't let those emotions paralyze you, because the sooner you start strategizing, the sooner you'll land on your feet. So get your finances in order. Leverage the network that you have. 80% of jobs are landed through networking, not cold applications.
Yep.
Update your resume on LinkedIn. Upskill and adapt. Maybe your industry is unstable, so consider online certifications or freelance work, and manage your mental health, because it is a life disruption. So if you need to, seek support from family or friends during this time.
Well, when you have a job like mine, one of the questions you ask every time you're laid off is like, do I even stay in this industry or do I go try and do something else? And what does that conversation look like, Betsy?
It could be a great time to rebrand yourself. If you've been looking to upskill, learn something new, AI technology, for instance, there are a lot of jobs right now that are hiring, especially in the tech space. Yes, they're laying off in the tech space as well, but there are a lot of jobs that are hiring. I would say right now, if you're someone that's been laid off, look at upskilling. Look at rebranding yourself. And if you feel like you could be laid off or more layoffs could be coming your way, then stay proactive there. Start looking at how do I make myself valuable to my company so that they don't want to lay my position off. But you also want to prepare like it may have already happened, right? So update that resume. Make sure your LinkedIn is polished and ready to go. Get everything in order now so you can move fast if needed.
So I have one little personal trick that I've used to sort of alleviate some of the pain from a layoff, and that's always have a second job. Now, it's not going to be a second full-time job. I'm not working 90 hours a week, but I always keep some little side gig tucked away somewhere. So if this goes away, at least I don't go all the way down to zero.
Oh, so smart. So smart to do that. I've worked 3 jobs before to make ends meet back in the day. We do what we have to do. Sometimes you need to go and get some government help if that's necessary at that time. But always looking at what's in my back pocket just in case.
Well, and I always think for the people, if you really hate getting laid off and you never want to get laid off again, the one way to do it is go into business for yourself.
There we go. There you have it. Yeah, the best thing you can do anyway is diversify your income, right? Can you pick up freelance work, a side gig? It may be just one more way to reduce the financial hit if you do get let go.
So you have training programs on your website. You're not doing the upskilling thing for people, are you?
Well, we're helping predominantly with leadership because when it comes to these layoffs right now, leaders are having a massive problem. Their job after layoffs is not damage control, it's culture control. And if you don't communicate a clear path forward, your best employees will assume that they need to find one elsewhere.
Boy, isn't that the truth? There is nothing that'll bring down the party quicker than losing a few of your friends in the workplace.
Oh, absolutely. You don't have to be the one laid off to feel the impact, right? When those pink slips fly, even survivors will start job hunting as well. And if the leaders who don't address the fallout, they're leaving the door wide open for even bigger talent drain, right? And we've got 42% of Gen Z employees already looking for a new job. Companies can't afford to lose their best people because they didn't address the current problems with the layoffs.
All right, Betsy Allen Manning, destination workplace expert. Another big layoff that just got announced here in DFW is Southwest is having their first in their corporate history wide round of layoffs. Any pieces, nuggets of wisdom for them?
Yeah, well, for which one? Because we've got the
Southwest is the big one.
The employees or the leaders? Because I mainly address with the leaders. It's something to remember that after layoffs, the employees who stay are watching you closely. They're going to ask, does this company value me? Do I have a future here? And if leaders don't step up and answer those questions, they'll lose people who weren't even on the chopping block.
All right,
so it's time to do that culture control.
I just looked at the clock. We're out of time. BetsyAllenManning.com is her website. She's got a bunch of good videos on YouTube if you want to check that out. Betsy Allen Manning, Destination Workplace Expert is how it's labeled. Thank you very much for your time again. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you too.
Thanks, Betsy. You got any advice for those that are getting laid off? I feel for those Southwest people, man, because Southwest is my airline. That's the one where I think if I've taken 100 flights in my life, I think 95 of them were on Southwest. Guys, good luck, man. I have been there, and that is not fun. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. DOGE updates next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.